Rubik's Master here with a very statistics-heavy video. So this is spawned from yesterday's video, and I got really curious after seeing that one guy attack me with just Abrams and Cobras, and he didn't even use his Cobras as an offensive unit. He used them just to take out my defending forces from these buildings while his Abrams sat over here, and once my defending units were out of the way, he used his Abrams as all his DPS and came in and took out all my turrets and destroyed my base. Like, he won. And that got me thinking, and I was wondering why he did that. Like, obviously he did it because it works. It's evidently a workable strategy. But I went in and figured out my own way. I ran all the numbers on the health of the different turrets and the DPS of a couple of the more popular units versus their health versus time it takes to kill both all the defenses and all the attacking units with my defenses. And I have come up with the bold statement that I think Abrams are the best unit in the game. The absolute best. Like, bar none. Well, okay, I say bar none. I didn't do these numbers for helicopters, because helicopters are kind of a special case. It very much depends on the base you attack, because if you look at my base, with all the machine gun turrets, the 2 flaks, and the barrage turret, you're going to have a hard time using helicopters against my base, no matter what. And then there's other bases. Like, there's just way too many variables for figuring out helicopters attacking a base. We do know it's very possible, as I've shown in past videos, even now after they've been nerfed. But anyway, this isn't about helicopters, this is about ground units, and I think the Abrams is the best unit in the game. And here is why. So we're going to take my base as an example, and since I am talking about attacking it with Abrams, I am going to leave out the health of these 2 turrets when I talk about the total health of my base's defenses. I am only counting the 5 turrets that can attack my tanks, and those turrets have a combined health of 60,000 points. That is if that platform was a level 5. But all combined, they would have a combined health of 60,000. And all of these units combined, the howitzer, the railgun, barrage, and the machine gun turrets, would have a combined DPS of 2,480. Now, if we're talking about the guy that attacked me in that last video, I had to do the numbers a little bit differently. His platoon was bigger than mine. He could have a lot of Abrams in addition to a lot more helicopters. The platoon I ran with the assumption of was a platoon of 7 Abrams and 3 Cobras. I believe 3 Cobras is enough to counter pretty much everything I have in my base. I may lose 1 Cobra, but it'll all end up being okay. So, in this platoon I created, the Abrams total health with 7 of them is going to be 182,000. Its total DPS is 1,700. Now, this is where it gets a little fishy, because if you look at how Abrams work, it's hard to get an exact time on it because they don't give us one, but I believe it shoots 1 shot every 3 seconds. So each of those shots is dealing, well, all the tanks combined with their 1 shot are dealing 5,103 damage per second. Believe that is correct. Yes, that is correct. Okay, 5,103 damage per second. So, if a herd of Abrams is coming through this base, not having to worry about any of these defensive units, it can destroy all of these turrets, assuming there is no gap in time between targeting one turret and another, and also assuming that it doesn't have to attack barriers. I did not include barrier health in this. That adds a whole other layer to it. as you can see, this barrier's health is 5,930, so it would take almost 6 seconds just to destroy that one barrier. It would be far better to micromanage your Abrams in and around as they target different units. But anyway, it would take all these Abrams 35.3 seconds to destroy all these turrets once they made contact. So let's say I did what this guy did and put all the Abrams down here and guided them up through my base, like up along this path here, avoiding landmines. As soon as I'm in range of that, they're attacking. And then as I move around here, they attack that turret. And then I keep moving them around this way, and well, I would want to attack that first, of course, because that's going to be dealing the most damage. That one, the railgun individually deals 667 DPS, and again, I don't know the exact times, but I believe it fires, if it's just let naturally to do its own thing without transformers, I believe one shot every 5 seconds, which means by itself, it can, every 5 seconds, it can almost one-shot an Abrams. Almost one-shot it. Anyway, so of course that's going to be a priority, but 35.3 seconds to destroy all these turrets. Now, it takes 73.4 seconds with combined DPS of all my turrets to destroy all my vehicles. And that's if all turrets are targeting the same, all turrets are targeting them at the same time, which, as we know, once tanks are inside this little complex, the howitzer and the salvo turret are completely out of play. The Abrams are safe. They're not taking that damage anymore. That's an insane, that's an instant 145 plus 528, 673. Instantly taking 673 less damage per second. And there are a couple other factors to include in here, which is splash damage on the railgun and all these, which would probably make up for the fact that the salvo and howitzer would stop dealing damage eventually. So if you look at how that works out, it's 35 seconds for all the Abrams to destroy all the defensive platforms that are damaging them, and 73 seconds for all those turrets to destroy the Abrams. As long as you space the Abrams out into a couple different squads, you can avoid taking the majority of the splash damage, and it shouldn't be a hard thing to destroy this entire base with just Abrams. Now, we all know that IFV Humvees have been a big favorite in attacks recently, so I wanted to compare those. I did run the stats on a couple others, but they didn't even come close to being able to destroy this, such as S-13s, definitely not viable. They could work, but they're probably not going to. Regular Humvees definitely aren't going to work. Even rocket buggies get really, really iffy. But Humvee IFVs have a combined DPS. Running this same platoon as wanting 3 Cobras in addition to the IFVs, because the Cobras, of course, would be to help take out the tanks, which would shred the Humvee IFVs. So there are 9 Humvees in the platoon, 46,000 combined health, 3,990 combined DPS. It takes these IFVs only 15 seconds to destroy all 5 of these turrets. 15 seconds flat. However, that may seem crazy and overpowered, but it only takes 18.6 seconds to be totally destroyed by all these turrets. Only 18.6. And that, again, is not counting splash damage. So this turret may only deal 528 damage per second, but it's dealing that over splash damage. This may only deal 145 damage per second, but it's dealing them to all the units in the group it hits. So it could take those Humvees out even faster than 18.6. And if you want to look at a buffer type attitude, when you look at the Humvees, 15 seconds to destroy, 18 seconds to be destroyed. That only gives you 3 seconds leeway. And these turrets are all targeting your vehicles before you can target them. So it's probably going to be a bit of a crapshoot whether you're actually going to get it or not. Maybe some super good micromanagers with their units could pull it off, but you're going to have a lot of repairs and it's going to be pretty difficult. Your Abrams, 35 seconds to destroy the entire base, 73 seconds to be destroyed. You have more than twice the time to destroy them. Well, they take more than twice as long to destroy you as it does for you to destroy them. And again, this is just because Abrams have the best damage to health ratio in the game. I don't know exactly what it is. I didn't pull those exact numbers. But they have the best damage to health ratio. Even though they deal less damage than Humvees, they deal more damage per unit of health than any other vehicle in the game. Well, again, land vehicle, that I have unlocked so far. I'm sure the later tanks are even better and way more overpowered. But anyway, this is just kind of the cool thing I saw and wanted to point out. I will definitely be trying some of these, maybe for tomorrow's video. I'll be trying some of these, both of these platoons out. I really want to try Abrams, see just how good it can get, see how much oil repairs it costs. I'm thinking, I don't know, between 2,000 and 3,000 per hit, and that depends on the railgun too, because a lot of bases run multiple railguns. 2 railguns versus all those Abrams. If I'm not able to take on one at a time, it could get really tough. Humvees, even if I'm able to win with Humvees, it's going to cost a lot of oil to repair. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Are Abrams really the most powerful unit in the game? Because, I don't know. We'll just have to see. I didn't think they were. I didn't really see a whole lot of use to them other than soaking up a ton of damage, but that attack yesterday opened my eyes to some possibilities. But, as I said, we shall see. Until then, y'all have an awesome